Three, two, one, and we are recording. Hello and welcome to the Avanti Entrepreneur Podcast. I am Dave Mammano, your host, and I am here every week, every Wednesday for 3 years now. 3 years to help you grow your business. And the way I do this is I connect with who I feel are the most inspirational, I'm going to say leaders, just good looking. I mean, everything that I want to inspire me, pulling them into my world and giving them to you, the Avanti family, through video and through audio on this podcast. Today I have on the show Jeb Blount from Sales Gravy. You may have heard of him. He's kind of a mover and shaker, we'll say. Jeb, welcome to the show.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Jeb, I'm going to read your bio, and then we're going to dig into your story and your value, all right? So, Jeb is a sales acceleration specialist and the author of 10 books, including Fanatical Prospecting, Sales EQ, People Buy You, People Follow You, and Objections. He is among the world's most respected thought leaders on prospecting, sales, leadership, and customer service. Through his global training organization, Sales Gravy, Jeb advises a who's who of the world's leading organizations and their executives on the impact of emotional intelligence and interpersonal skills on customer-facing activities. Pump that bio, and look, you're so popular, you're getting a phone call.
Sorry about that.
I'm going to call you to say, oh my God, you are on the Avanti podcast, Jeb. This is big.
I know. Hold on a second. Let's turn Do Not Disturb on.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. Hey, we're entrepreneurs and salespeople. We're flexible, right? We keep on moving. So, Jeb, I met you quickly at a conference you had in Atlanta earlier this year called Outbound. Oh, my God. And I'm not just saying this to be nice to you. It literally was one of the best conferences I've ever been to. My friend and colleague, Anthony King, up here in Rochester, we actually have this, we're on the same floor in the office. He came over to my office and said, check this out. We got to go to this. And I was like, looks great. I'm a sales guy. He's a sales guy. And we loved it. Everything from the mojo of the conference, the way you guys did things, not like overselling from the stage. You all were there afterwards at your booth. We could actually talk to you over the 2 or 3 days, right? Was it great? And then also just the energy. You guys had it was almost like a dance party, right? Between speakers, the great music you had, the videos you had that were almost real time, right? I mean, I would watch a video later in the day and I was like, oh my God, that was this morning, right? And great lineup, great energy. What I loved about it the most, all the speakers, including yourself, had great content and skills and credibility. Yet, I'm sure you have an ego, but you kept it in your back pocket, right? You guys were all very approachable, humble, helpful. You know, when asked to, for you to sign my books, and you guys I could tell you're still honored, right? You haven't got to that piece where, oh, leave me alone, my paparazzi. You're still humble and cool, and all the speakers were like that. So that's what made it it was a very unique event. So kudos to you and the team for pulling that off. I believe this is your number 3, correct?
That's correct. It was your number 3. And listen, the day that I complained because someone hands me a book to sign, if you see me do that, punch me in the nose as hard as that would be like because people always come and they go, would it be okay if I could if you could sign my book? And I'm like, listen, if the author ever complains about autographing a book that you bought, just hit them as hard as you can, because that is the dumbest thing you could possibly do. Yeah, I'm glad that you said that about Outbound, because you captured what we set out to do. So many conferences today, basically the mic is being sold to some CEO of a tech company who's standing on stage and giving this faux presentation that is a disguised commercial for their product. And we recognize that no one really gets any value out of that. So we set out to put a conference together that was high value, maximum value, no selling from the stage. That's just our way of doing things. So certainly if you want to come buy a book later on, that's great. But the idea is we love salespeople, we love entrepreneurs like you, and we want to provide a conference where people come in, they get the best value, and they walk away and they go, wow. So we call it the rock show of the sales profession. Anthony calls it, my partner in this, the Cirque du Soleil meets a rock show meets the sales profession, because you notice that it was choreographed, and there wasn't like someone standing on stage going, now I'm going to introduce blah. It was like everything was working all the time. The videos are just badass. And the guy that you saw on camera briefly getting me set up, our creative director, David Montessori here, he was the architect of some of those inline videos where you were watching something in the morning, and he and his team were downstairs putting all that together and then creating a video in the afternoon. So we hope to take that to the next level next year. But yeah, I'm so glad to hear you say that, because the whole spirit of it started here, like in our heart. It wasn't let's go make a whole bunch of money. And in fact, we've broken even. We lost money the first year, broke even the second year, made enough this year so that we can invest and make it a little bit better. So it was never about that. It was all about doing something really cool and really fun that people would truly appreciate, with a bunch of people that we liked, that we felt like could advance the sales profession and make it better.
Yeah, no, it was fantastic, because you go to a lot of events, and I want to say, and I feel bad saying that almost, but some events these days are almost like a bait and switch. They get you there, and then they're just trying to upsell the crap out of you the whole time, right? Like on stage. And it's like, I didn't come here to get sold. I came here to learn and grow and get educated. And that's what happened at Outbound. So, in fact, we'll plug it for you. I mean, I'm going to give you a free ad right here. So the website, if I remember, is it just outbound.com?
Outboundconference.com.
Outboundconference.com. I already have my tickets for next year. I got the early bird ticket. So did Tony King, my colleague here. And it's in Atlanta again, right at the Georgia Congress Center. And the dates off the top of my head, I forget. But what are the dates for next year?
It'll be May 4th, the week of May 4th. So I think it's May 5th is the VIP day. There are only 75 VIP tickets, and about a third of those are gone. Then we have 2 days with the main stage, which is the early bird ticket that you bought. So 2 days of rock show. And then the last day, which would be Friday, will be, we call it our elite sessions. And those are more intimate 90-minute sessions with an array of experts. Last year we did 20 breakouts. This year we're shooting for 25. So you can come in, typically anywhere from 50 to 100 people in the room, but you can interact with the speaker, much deeper content, and that's called our elite ticket, and that's available as well.
Excellent. And so I've had your colleagues and a lot of your speakers on my podcast already, or they're booked to be on soon. Victor Antonio, Mike Weinberg, Anthony Iannarino, which I learned how to say his last name the right way, right? Jeffrey Gittimore, Andrea Walt's been on the podcast. Colleen Francis, I'm interviewing soon. Mark Hunter, I'm interviewing soon. So I loved you all. I think I covered everybody, right? And I love it. So it's you came together with Mike Weinberg, Anthony Iannarino, and Mark Hunter to put this conference on, right? And I love the collaboration, because you guys can look at each other, and you all have your unique competitive advantage. But at the end of the day, you're all doing some form of sales training. So you could look at each other as competitors and stay out of my yard, right? But instead, you come together as colleagues, brothers, collaborate together. What can we do together? High tide raises all the ship, and you guys are proving that on steroids, right? I mean, it's all you're all helping each other grow, and in return, you grow too, right?
That's exactly right. It's a beautiful collaboration. It's with friends. We like each other, and the getting on our stage is invitation only. I get 10 requests a day. We call it the most valuable real estate in sales, the Outbound stage. But it's just that we recognize that if we work together, that like you said, the tide rises all ships. And just last week, I was with a client doing a fanatical prospecting boot camp, and they had come to Outbound, and they had worked with Mike, and they had worked with Anthony, and then they were working with me. So it's not like, we're building these deep exclusive relationships. They like all the content. So they're able to experience us all, and then they feel comfortable with you, and they bring you on. So I do more business after Outbound with the people that come to Outbound, just because they appreciated the content, they got to know me, and they were able to bring me in, because at least they got to see me and, like you said, interact with me in a hallway, or, have a quick conversation with me. And I just, even this week, I was in doing a training for a SDR group, and I noticed an outbound bag in there, and I was like, hey, that's an outbound bag. And one of the SDRs goes, yeah, I went to outbound 2 years ago, and I'm so excited to see you. And I'm like, oh my gosh, so I'm giving this kid a hug. I'm like, oh, you came to our show. So truly appreciative. But it's a hard thing to do because of all the egos that get involved. It's a hard thing to do because you have to approach it with that spirit. It's a hard thing to do because you have to say to yourself that this is not, I go to outbound, sell from the stage, get a bunch of things. It's not a quid pro quo. You go to outbound, you deliver value with the right spirit, and the universe has this really weird way of coming back and rewarding you when you're doing the right things. And I believe that you have to approach it with that level of faith, and when you do, it pays off.
Absolutely. And you guys are proving that. You're proving that in a big way. So congratulations. And then one guy I forgot to mention too, Bob Berg. I've had him in the podcast as well. So I think that's everybody at this point, right?
Wow. That's pretty good. That's like a collection of like baseball cards or something.
I know. That's right. You guys should do that next year. Baseball cards, right? I like it. We can trade. So listen, I certainly want to extract some value out of you, especially with your new book. If you're watching this, it's called Objections. And we're going to do that. But first, I love personally hearing the story of how your star was born. How did it get, go back whenever your path began to where you are today. Would love to hear the story about, how it started and then the path of the great success you're experiencing today.
Well, 12 years ago, we had this little event called the Global Financial Crisis. When the States, we call it the Great Recession.
Little blip, right? Yeah.
And at the time, I was a senior executive in a Fortune 500 company, which in essence is like being a rock star. So you've got corner office, I had 2 assistants. You eat and drink the best stuff. You've got an unlimited expense account. You spend all your time in meetings. It's, you even have your own, corporate shrink to make sure that if you're having a bad day, you got somebody to go talk to. I mean, that's the world of living in that space. And I just happened to work in an industry where we were the leading indicator going into a recession because we took care of businesses that had lots of employees. And when businesses started tightening and unemployment started going up, it was going up way before the numbers started catching that. So our company got smart, started tightening up, made a couple of changes, did a private equity play. And in the middle of all of that, there was a moment where they just didn't need high-paid executives who had 2 assistants in the corner office, drinking really nice things on an unlimited expense account. And so it was like, Jeb, you got to go find something else to do. Now, they didn't completely abandon me. They certainly gave me, options inside the organization that were of equal value, but they required me to move my family and do a bunch of things that I didn't want to do. So I was in a situation where I had to make a decision. Do I become an entrepreneur, which had always been my dream, or do I stay in the corporate world? The corporate world had been really, really good to me. I made a great living. I had everything you could possibly imagine. There was no problems at all with that, except for that you're kind of connected to the company and you're kind of stuck in that, in that world where when you get to that level, you begin protecting what you have versus taking risk and doing more. I don't know if you've ever been in that situation. So I was doing some interviews. I was interviewing for a CEO job with a pretty well-known company. And I realized in the middle of the interview that I just wasn't that into it. Like, I didn't want to get back on that hamster wheel. And I wanted to be in a place where I could push the limits and be more entrepreneurial and not be in that situation where I was always worried about what might happen if. So I started Sales Gravy. That was 12 years ago. And my first 3 years, I didn't sleep. I don't remember sleeping. I don't even remember a whole lot about it. I was working 24 hours a day. I would work sometimes until I hurt. I was the only person in my company. So I was doing customer service. I was doing training delivery. I built a job board, which was, create a lot of monthly recurring revenue that funded my business. So I built a cash flow machine that I was able to use all the cash to then grow into what we are today. I would literally work until I ached. Like, there was nothing left in me. Sleep 4 hours, get up, do it again. I did that, grinded, built. By 2010, we were making money. It took me 2 years to make any money, but by 2010, we were making money, doing pretty well. 2011, we started getting some big breaks. Just luck started happening, and we call it sales gravy. The sales guys started rewarding us for the work that we were doing.
Yeah.
And then started growing the team a little bit. It's taken me, it took me another 3-4 years to get a leader on my team that really was someone that was my right arm. Keith Lubner, amazing, and then able to get another leader, Jason Eatman, my chief sales officer, my left arm, and my CFO, and build a leadership team around. So today we're a global training company. We have 20 people working on our team. We'll add more people this year. We're in hyper growth. So we're growing super fast. We're doubling the size of the company every year, and we're right now on a path to hit $25 million in sales. I mean, that's our core focus right now. Yeah. And we're in a place where when I look back 12 years ago, it's hard to believe we're in this place, but we're running a complete digital transformation of our company, process, systems, SOPs, big group of people. But the good news is, the same spirit that we bring to Outbound, we bring in our world. We're all practitioners. We all love what we do. We're all essentially entrepreneurs who got together and decided we were going to build a cool place where people who liked each other could work. And we're like family. We fight sometime too. Sure. And now we're on a growth trajectory that's just, it's mind-blowing. And we have enough cash coming in that we can take that money and reinvest in building a bigger company. So for instance, right now we're doing a major construction project, adding on to our sound studio so that we can build more e-learning. We're investing in our equipment, making sure we have the best stuff. All of that very, very expensive to do, but it allows us to separate. And if anybody from the federal government is listening, let me explain something. When you give tax breaks to small businesses like ours, we don't take it and put it in our back pocket and go buy, big luxury things. We take it and we invest in our business and we hire more people. That's why small business and entrepreneurship is the engine that drives the economy. And if any politician is paying attention, I promise you, the more you give small businesses a leg up, the more they'll invest, the more people they'll hire. And I'm not doing this for my soapbox. I'm just saying this is what we do. And if anybody who's listening is an entrepreneur, you know this. If you get extra money, you're building your business, you're growing your business, because that's who we are. That's why we're entrepreneurs. And I love to be in that position that we're adding to our local economy. We're bringing, giving people opportunities in our company that they would maybe not have otherwise. And we're getting to do really cool things that impact people all over the globe.
I love it. I wish you had a little more energy though. You're really putting me to sleep. You are fantastic. So Jeb, I love the fact that you did a 2.0, right? I mean, Jeb 2.0, right? You had different options. And, some people go bankrupt. Some people have like devastating life events and they have to start over. It sounded like, you had an opportunity with a life transition to do, follow a dream, right? Like you weren't on the street. But I just went through, I went to a conference where Ellen Latham, the founder of Orange Theory Fitness, was very happy. I think she's about 51 years old. And divorced, single mother, working as a fitness, like the head of the fitness training at a local gym in Florida, and they let her go, right? So she said, I think she said she was in her bedroom, in the dark for about 2 days, and then said, I have to reboot. And she started the gym, which became Orange Theory Fitness. So she was 52 when that happened. And now, she tells us in my podcast, so now she's about 62, 63. The company is valued at $1 billion and they have more than 1,200 franchisees. So if you don't mind me asking, what age were you when you had to reboot?
I was 39. So,
39.
Yeah, so I was 39, right at 40. So, so I rebooted right in that space. And it was, it wasn't like, because people always say, was it, following your dream or following your passion? It really wasn't that. Like I've got this belief, like it's great to follow your passion. It's a hell of a lot better just to bring your passion with you wherever you go. Yeah. And it was, I don't want to do this anymore. What else do I know how to do? And then when I look at it, I'm like, I only know how to do one thing. I can sell stuff, and I'm really, really good at that. So I know how to do that. How do I build this? Now, I knew what I wanted to build. Like where I am right now is what I wanted. I had this vision from the very beginning. I just didn't know exactly how to get there. And the path that I built was a cash flow path that allowed me to fund forward without having to take on any risk. And I've been really, really careful with risk. I've taken more risk in the last 2 years with the business than I ever did before, but I've been careful with that. So it wasn't so much that, it was, I think the Orange Theory story is a great example. It was just a necessity. I needed to do something different. And I realized that at 39, if I went back into the corporate world, my chance at being an entrepreneur, my chance at trying something different would be gone. Now, this was, I think, real important for me, at least in that space. There were two things that I said to myself at the time. And one was, if I go down this path at the age of 39 and I go become an entrepreneur and I fail, I'm really screwed. Because in the corporate world where I live, big companies, like I lived in the big Fortune 500 world, I was really good at that. I loved it. The problem is if you go out on your own and you try to come back, you're a pariah. Like it's just really bad. Everybody wants to be you, but if you didn't make it, they want to know what's wrong with you. Like why didn't you make it?
Right. And what happened to you when you were out there, right? How did you get stained and tainted, right?
That's right. When you come back, they're like, well, you're going to leave again. So I knew that I would be at that point, basically ending what I'd hoped to. I mean, my goal had been, my dream had been to be a CEO of a Fortune 500 company. So like I figured at that point that was out. And then the second thing I said to myself was, okay, you're 39, 40 years old. You have 20 more years of your life. Like, okay, we're starting all over. You have 20
career life, working life, right?
Well, I just said, 20 more years of my working life, which I've got way more than that.
Sure,
so,
yeah.
But I said, you got 20 years. In 20 years, what's the difference going to be? Like, how are you going to change that? Who are you going to be? And it was that. And I just said, I just lived on that. So, okay, well, whatever happened behind me doesn't matter anymore. I have 20 years to change something. And that's what I'm gonna do. And then I said, okay, well, then my first goal is I'm gonna write 5 books in 5 years. And everybody laughed at me. They all laughed. Everybody did, including the people that love me the most. And I was able to accomplish that. I'm now on book 11, so I'll have 11 books in 12 years.
Wow.
So, but it was those two things, and those were at the macro level, just saying, here's the truth. So basically, I burned the ships, and then I switched my mindset to clean slate. Let's be something different, and let's do something different. And then had to get through at least 3 years of night terrors where I'd wake up in the middle of the night, and I couldn't breathe because I was having a dream about how I failed and had to crawl back on my belly to a corporate America and beg for my job back. Because I didn't worry about whether I was going to succeed or not. I just worried about where I was going to fail.
That fear
I can't stand to lose anything, and that was my biggest fear. Yes, very much so. That fear was my biggest motivation.
Yeah.
And and I would see the people in my corporate circle who would look at me, and I would look at their face and go, okay, they're never going to let them look at me that way. So it was just a game that I play with myself. I don't worry about that anymore. I don't wake up and worry about whether the company's going to fail. These days, the thing I wake up and worry about is, are we prepared for the recession that's going to come? Are we prepared for the downturn so that we can weather that storm and get back up again? I don't think that I know there's going to be a downturn. I don't think it's going to be anything like what happened to us, 10 years ago. I think it's going to be, like our normal recession. But I want to be prepared for that so that we weather that storm. And then when we come back on the other side, we're moving faster than everyone else.
Yeah. Sometimes a recession, if it's not catastrophic, it can make you stronger, right? I mean, it's like the wind hitting a tree for a long time makes the roots stronger, right? So, and I get up I wake up in the middle of the night too, but it's mostly at this age to go to the bathroom. So, so I want to talk about your book. You've got book number 11. Is that what I'm seeing on the screen here? Objections?
This is book number 9, believe it or not.
Oh, this is 9. Okay. Book number 9.
Plus, like this just came out. 9 and 10 came out about the same time because 10 was fanatical military recruiting, which we've got a division of our company that works with the military with military recruiters. So we built a book just for them, and then this came out for B2B reps at the same time.
Beautiful. So it's called Objections. And so we're, so tell us, so of the Avanti family, we're small to medium-sized entrepreneurs. We're like you, I'll say 8, 9, 10 years ago, right? Chief cook, bottle washer, quite often waking up at 3 a.m. saying, what have I done? And then, you figure it out. We're doing sales, we're taking out the garbage and everywhere in between quite often, right? And you remember that. Mm-hmm. So what are, this book or your other books, what are the top things you're going to tell a small business entrepreneur to focus on to get that flywheel turning from a sales perspective?
Well, this is a great book. Objections is a wonderful book for entrepreneurs because it's the only book that I believe has ever been written that really does a deep dive into the types of objections that people get when they're selling. And we're not talking about your prices too much. I'm talking about where objections happen. So prospecting objections, red herring objections, micro commitment objections, and buying commitment objections, which we face throughout the sales cycle in different places. So it takes on those objections and builds frameworks around them so that you can manage those. But it also talks about the psychology behind why objections hurt so bad and why they hold you back. So if you just go back from the very beginning. So I remember when I said, I'm going to start a business, my wife looked at me and said, you're out of your mind. And I said, well, I'm going to do this. And I picked up the phone and I made the first phone call. And I've been doing this my whole life. I've sold since I was in my teens. I've made thousands and thousands of cold calls. And as an entrepreneur, at that moment that I made that first cold call, it was one of the scariest things I've ever done, because suddenly I wasn't selling for someone else, I was selling for me. And in a lot of cases, I was selling me. So not only if they told me no, were they rejecting the idea that they do business with me, but they were rejecting me personally because it was my company. And that's a completely different place to be. And it was a place that I wasn't prepared for. So those are very hard things to get over. And even then, I would find myself rearranging my desk versus going out and trying to find business. And I know there's entrepreneurs everywhere who face this because I talk to them at conferences and they come to my speeches and we have these conversations with each other because that's a tough thing. So I talked to an entrepreneur the other day said, yeah, I spent 4 months getting my blog and my podcast and everything together and then realized that if I didn't actually start selling something, it was going to go broke. So for me, it's like, how do you get over that? So we talk about why you feel that way, where that comes from, why people resist you, and then give you techniques for overcoming that basic human fear. And by the way, this is not a psychological problem. It is a biological problem. The way that we feel about being rejected and the way that we perceive objections as rejection, even if they're not. And we focus on, at the very beginning of the book, probably the most important lesson for entrepreneurs and really everyone. And that is the most important discipline, the discipline of all disciplines for you as an entrepreneur is you have to ask. You have to ask for what you want. You have to ask for what you want. You have to ask for what you want. And you have to do it confidently, assertively, assumptively, and you have to be direct, and you have to be consistent, and you have to be persistent. And that asking, that place where you ask, that's the place that triggers that fear. So instead of being confident, you're wishy-washy, you're passive, you're insecure, which creates rejection and objections where it didn't really exist. So we teach you how to first of all, we tell you the truth. You have to do this. We teach you how to get past that. And when I talk about frameworks, we give you core frameworks. So we're not saying here's a black and white way of doing this. We're saying here's a framework that allows you to adjust and be agile in context with your unique situation so that when you face people telling you no, and there's going to be a lot of them that do that, you know exactly what to do. You're able to build exactly what to say based on your business and your messaging so that you can rise above your disruptive emotions in the moment and influence that person to say yes, to turn them around so that you can get past that and move on to your core objective. And I love this book. I think it's, and I say this because I write books for myself. I just think it's the greatest book that was ever been written in objections. And I like reading it because it reminds me of, my human fallacy, the things that that I sometimes need to, to pay attention to in my own world so that I get past those same fears and continue to build my business.
Awesome. Well, maybe you certainly write books for everybody, but like you said, write them for yourself. The best student is the teacher, right? You're reminding yourself of what you need to know. And I'm assuming all your books are on Amazon. Get them on your website. The whole works.
Yeah, Amazon, Barnes and Noble. This book is out on Audible, and I do all my audiobooks, so I'm the person reading my audiobooks.
I was gonna ask you about that. Is it on Audible? And if so, did you read them? And I love that, because it bothers me when the author doesn't read the book. If he wrote the book, unless your voice is like horrifying, just spend a day or two and read it, because like no one can capture the energy of the author, and you with your 10 out of, I'll say 20 out of 10, incredible energy and passion. I was hoping that you were going to read your book, so that's gonna be my next book on Audible. Thank you.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, I think it's so important that you read your books. I did a couple of mini documentaries on doing audiobooks because of that. For exactly the same reason, I listen to audiobooks. I'm listening to one right now. The book is so good, and the person reading it is so dry, because they don't carry the passion. And when I hate doing audiobooks. Let me tell you something. I know why authors don't do them. It's the most miserable, awful experience. It takes a week of sitting in a chair reading through the book. But here's what I think is, and why I tell every author you should read your books. Now, this is different, by the way, than fiction. If it's fiction, there are actors out there that do a really nice job with fiction books. But nonfiction business books, you should read them, because when I'm sitting in the chair and I'm reading something and the written word doesn't carry the message, I'm the author. I can look at the producer who's on the other side of the booth and say, I'm changing those words. Right. And they can't go, no, you can't do that. If you're reading the book and you're a hired hand reading the book, you got to read it as it's written. You have no editorial ability to change anything. And I think that makes the book so much better. So my audiobooks are slightly different than the written word. And I can go back over. It takes a long time, but I'll read a passage. And if I don't feel like the passion or the energy's in there, if it doesn't end the right way, if I didn't capture the cadence and the tone in that particular passage, then I'll go back. And it's one of the reasons why I got an email yesterday. I get them every single day where people say, I'm wearing it out. I've listened to the book so many times. It kind of comes to the book over and over and over again. And they listen to the book because what they're hearing is me sitting next to them in the seat of their car, having a conversation with them. And only I can do that. No one else can. And that's why I choose to make the sacrifice and the investment in writing or reading my own books.
Yeah. No, you're certainly a force of nature. So I'm excited to listen to the book. And I think most people, I don't know most people, I know a lot of people prefer to listen to books on Audible these days, just because we're so busy. And we're on airplanes, we're driving around, we're working out. I'm always listening to Audible when I'm doing all of those things, right? What did Brian Tracy say? University on wheels, right? And I love that, right? I've got a massive education in my car. I got my MBA in my car, right?
That's true. Automobile University.
Yeah, absolutely. So Jeb, this has been super, super fantastic. Your website, salesgravy.com.
That's correct.
Right. And do you have a personal website as well, or is it everything at Sales Gravy?
Go to salesgravy.com or go to jebblount.com. Blount is my last name. All the Yankees, I know it's Blount.
Yeah, with that Blount.
But it's Blount, spelled Blount. Easy way to remember it. It's really Blount. That's right. It's Blount. But jebblount.com or salesgravy.com. And if you're in the military, fanaticalrecruiting.com.
Excellent. Well, Jeb, we're going to have all this stuff in the show notes. We'll also have a link to register for outboundconference.com as well. Super excited about that. And
I'll give you a coupon if for your listeners. If you use Jeb 100, JEB 100, you can save $100 on your outbound ticket.
Oh, that's awesome. I appreciate that. Easier than Anarino 100, right? So
I'm still working on saying his name. Siri, when I try to tell Siri to give him a call, she can't understand it either. So
she's calling some friend in Sicily, right? I mean, it's like, who's this guy, right? Well, Jeb, thank you so much. Thanks for all the great work you're doing, and thank you for sharing your inspirational story. I love people like you because no one gifted you a thing. besides, God giving you some blessings, but you made those happen. You manifested those. You rolled up your sleeves. You made it happen. You woke up at 3 a.m. with the night sweats, and you kept on walking forward, moving forward. And that's actually what Avanti means in Italian, is move forward. So you're the epitome of Avanti. So thank you for that, Jeb.
I like that. I like that. In the military, it's Charlie Mike, continue mission.
Oh, continue mission. Very nice. Very nice. Will you continue your mission? I look forward to seeing you next year. Thanks, Jeb.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Avanti family. Appreciate you. Go to AvantiEntrepreneur.com. If you want to listen to this again, see the show notes. We got over 150 other podcasts there from the past 3 years. All of our other information about our events, coaching programs, etc. Thank you very much. Have a great day and stay awesome.